The plastic bin clicked against the conveyor at 6:11 a.m. Then my daughter's hand reached across mine. "Have a nice life," she said. The passport was gone before I could blink. I stood there at the Charlotte Douglas security line, shoes already off, jacket folded in my arms, watching her beige blazer disappear into the crowd heading toward Gate E. My heart counted beats instead of seconds. 1, 2, 3. The TSA agent's brow furrowed as she looked at my empty hands, then back at the conveyor where my phone sat alone in that gray bin. The coffee smell from the nearby kiosk turned my stomach. I could hear shoe squeaks on the polished floor, announcements overhead about boarding times, the soft hum of the belt still moving. My fingertips felt cold against the metal edge of the screening table. "Ma'am, do you have your identification?" The agent's voice was patient but firm. "My daughter she took..." The words tangled in my throat. How do you explain that your own child just walked away with your whole identity? The agent glanced at her supervisor, who approached with that practiced look of someone who'd seen every kind of airport drama. Other travelers moved past me, some glancing, most looking away. Nobody stopped. Nobody asked if I was okay. I was 63 years old, traveling to my brother's funeral in Houston, and suddenly I had nothing. No passport, no wallet, no credit cards, no cash, just a phone with 15% battery and a boarding pass I couldn't use without ID. "Let me get someone from Lost and Found," the supervisor said. I nodded, picked up my phone, and walked to Gate C on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. Through the window, planes rolled slowly across the tarmac. I counted them like breaths. 1, 2, 3. My daughter's voice kept playing back. "Have a nice life." Not angry. Not rushed. Just calm. Like she'd planned exactly what to say. If you've ever been the one left holding nothing, this story will validate every instinct you doubted. Subscribe so you never miss the quiet victories that follow public humiliation. I sat in a plastic chair near the window and tried to remember the last normal conversation we'd had. Last week? Last month? She'd offered to drive me to the airport this morning, said it would give us time to talk. We'd barely spoken the whole ride. She'd parked at departures, helped me get my bag from the trunk, walked me inside to the security checkpoint. Now I understood why. My phone buzzed. 10% battery. I should call someone. But who? My brother was dead. That's why I was trying to get to Houston. My daughter had just stolen from me. My son-in-law lived in Atlanta and had always made me uneasy, though I'd never said it out loud. The TSA supervisor returned, this time with a clipboard and a younger woman in a different uniform. "Ma'am, I'm from airport security. I need to ask you some questions about what happened." I straightened in my chair, smoothed my jacket. "My daughter took my passport and wallet at 6:11 a.m. at the security line in Terminal D." The woman wrote that down. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Ma'am, someone called Lost and Found asking about your passport before you reported it missing. Write down 6:11 a.m. That timestamp becomes the thread that unravels everything." The Lost and Found clerk repeated it twice. "Mail caller. Asked for a Navy passport by description. We hadn't logged any yet." The small airport office smelled like old carpet and recycled air. Metal desk, stacks of labeled bins, a computer screen showing call logs. The clerk, a woman maybe 40 with reading glasses on a chain, scrolled through her records. "Here, 6:17 a.m. Caller asked specifically about a Navy passport. Stated it belonged to an elderly traveler in Terminal D. Wanted to know if we'd received it." 6 minutes. My daughter had walked away at 6:11, and 6 minutes later, someone called to check if the theft had worked. Did he leave a name? No, but the system logs the incoming number automatically. She pointed at the screen. Atlanta area code 404. My son-in-law worked in Atlanta. He was a hospital administrator at a medical center in Cobb County. Successful, polished. The kind of man who always had the right words and the right paperwork. I'd never fully trusted him. but I'd buried that feeling under years of family dinners and polite conversation. "Can I get a copy of that log?" My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "I can print the timestamp and area code. We don't release full numbers without a police request." She handed me a sheet of paper. 6:17 a.m., 404 area code. Request details: Navy passport, elderly female, Terminal D. He'd known. Not just known, he'd been waiting to confirm. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't my daughter acting alone in some moment of anger or stress. This was choreographed. I folded the paper carefully and put it in my jacket pocket, the same pocket where I used to keep my wallet. "What happens now?" I asked. "You'll need to file a report with TSA and get emergency travel documentation if you still want to fly today. The office is on the lower level, near baggage claim." I thanked her and walked toward the escalator, my legs feeling heavier with each step. The terminal stretched out in front of me. Gates, shops, travelers moving with purpose, everyone going somewhere, except me. My phone buzzed again. 5% battery. I should let it die, save what little power remained. But I glanced at the screen anyway. Unknown number, Winston-Salem area code. I almost didn't answer. Then something made me press the green button. "Hello? Is this Clara?" A woman's voice. Professional, but not cold. "Yes." "My name is Susan Vance. I'm with Legal Aid of Mecklenburg County. I heard what happened at the airport this morning. I can help." The area code matched my son-in-law's office in Cobb County. He'd been in Georgia the whole morning, or so I thought. The temporary travel document cost 2 hours and a photocopy of my Social Security card pulled from a shoe. At least they couldn't take that. I sat in a makeshift TSA office on the lower level, filling out forms while a young agent processed my emergency clearance. The walls were beige, the chairs were hard plastic, and someone had taped a faded poster about travel safety near the door. "This document is valid for one-way travel only," the agent explained. He looked maybe 25 with careful hands and a name tag that read, Leo. "You'll need to get a replacement passport when you return home." I nodded, watching him scan my Social Security card, the one I'd tucked into a hidden compartment in my shoe years ago after reading an article about travel safety. My mother had taught me that. Always keep something they can't easily take. Leo took my photo, collected my fingerprints, had me sign a sworn statement about the theft. Everything went into a folder labeled with an incident number, 47291. "I'm waiving the processing fee," he said quietly. "This shouldn't have happened." "Thank you." He handed me a paper cup of lukewarm water. Gate announcements echoed from somewhere above us, other people's lives continuing while mine felt suspended. "The Houston flight is delayed until 2:15, Leo said. "You'll have time to board with this documentation." I thanked him again and took the folder. Incident report, temporary ID, sworn statement, all stamped, dated, filed, paper trail. That's what the woman on the phone, Susan, had called it. Every document matters. Keep everything. I told her about the cold call, the Atlanta area code, the 6-minute gap. She'd listened without interrupting, then asked one question. "Do you have your TSA incident number?" When I said no, she told me to get it before doing anything else. Now I had it. 4EVE291. I climbed the stairs slowly back to the main terminal, folder clutched against my chest. My phone was dead now. I'd plugged it into a charging station near Gate C, watching the percentage climb from 1 to 15. Susan had texted instructions before my phone died. "Get to Houston, attend the funeral. Don't confront your daughter. Document everything. Call me when you land." The screen showed one unread message from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it. "I heard what happened. I can help. Meet me when you land." Same number that had called earlier. Susan's number. As I boarded the delayed Houston flight, my phone buzzed. 1 bar of signal. A text from an unknown Winston-Salem number. "I heard what happened. I can help. Meet me when you land." The woman at the gate scanned my emergency document, barely glancing at my face. She handed it back with a nod. I found my seat, Middle row, window, and pressed my forehead against the cool glass. Below, workers loaded bags onto a plane, everything moving with procedure and routine. My life used to feel like that. Routine. Predictable. Now I didn't know what it felt like. Would you trust a stranger offering help after your family betrayed you? They avoided my eyes at the service. Cousins who'd known me 30 years suddenly needed fresh air when I approached the guest book. The chapel was small, built in the 1970s with wood paneling and narrow windows that let in afternoon light through stained glass. I sat alone in the back pew while relatives clustered at the front. My brother's children, their spouses, people I'd known since they were babies. My daughter stood near the casket, composed and tearful. She wore black, spoke softly, accepted condolences with quiet grace. Everyone treated her like the family representative. Nobody looked at me. I heard whispers, not loud, just fragments that carried across the quiet space. Mom's been struggling lately. They're handling her affairs now. It's better this way. My hands folded in my lap. I didn't stand, didn't correct anyone, just watched and listened. They were rewriting my story while I sat 10 feet away. My daughter hugged an aunt, dabbed her eyes with a tissue, gestured toward me with what looked like concern. The aunt glanced back, her expression shifting to something like pity. I'd driven myself here from the airport in a rental car, paid for with the one credit card I kept in my jacket pocket instead of my wallet. Another habit from my mother. Backup plan. The service was short. My brother would have wanted that. No lengthy eulogies, just scripture and a closing prayer. People filed out toward the cemetery, but I stayed seated. A woman in a church volunteer badge approached, older than me, maybe 70, with silver hair and steady eyes. "I don't know you," she said quietly, "but I know that look." "What look?" "Someone just took your story." She pressed a business card into my hand. Legal Aid of Mecklenburg County. They track cross-state elder fraud. Call tonight. She walked away before I could respond. They rewrote her story while she sat 10 feet away. If you've been edited out of your own narrative, subscribe, because the comeback starts quiet. At the cemetery, I stood far from the crowd. The April sun felt warm on my shoulders. My daughter delivered a short speech about family and loss and keeping legacies alive. I counted blades of grass near my shoes. After the burial, people approached my daughter with more condolences. A few glanced my way but didn't approach. One cousin, Paul, my brother's youngest, started walking toward me, then his wife touched his arm and shook her head. I got in my rental car and drove to a budget hotel near the airport. The business card sat on the nightstand. Susan Vance, attorney, Mecklenburg County Legal Aid. Same name from the text, same number. I picked up my phone, now fully charged, and called. One card, one phone call. Ever had a stranger show more loyalty than your own blood? She didn't introduce herself with sympathy. She opened with a question. "Do you have your TSA incident number?" I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, phone pressed to my ear. The incident report spread across the floral bedspread. 47291. Good, that's your foundation. Susan's voice was measured, professional, late 40s maybe, North Carolina accent softened by years of courtroom work. Everything else builds from there. She explained North Carolina's elder financial exploitation statutes, cross-state coordination triggers, federal mail fraud provisions, terms I'd never heard used in ways I'd never considered. "Airport documentation creates admissible evidence," she said. "The timestamp on your incident report locks everyone into a timeline they can't change." I took notes on hotel stationery. My handwriting looked shaky but legible. Susan outlined 3 immediate actions. Request the airport call log officially, pull my phone records for that morning, and document every interaction with my daughter and son-in-law from here forward. Don't confront them. Don't accuse. Just observe and record. Why? Because right now they think you're defeated. That's your advantage. I'd never thought of silence as advantage. I'd thought of it as what you did when you didn't have power. One more thing. Susan said. Pull your phone records for that morning. If your daughter called anyone before 6:11, we'll see who knew the plan. She asked about my son-in-law, his name, employer, location. I told her, Julian Croft, hospital administrator, Cobb County Medical Center, Atlanta. Does he have access to any of your financial accounts? No, my daughter's listed as power of attorney for medical decisions only, not financial. When was that document created? 3 years ago, after my heart procedure. Do you have a copy? At home in Winston-Salem. Get it. Check the language. Sometimes what you think you signed isn't what got filed. That thought made my stomach turn. We talked for 20 more minutes. She explained retainer fees, none, legal aid covered this, and realistic timelines, weeks, not days, evidence collection, not confrontation. You're not powerless, Susan said before we hung up. You're gathering ammunition. I set the phone down and looked at my notes. 7 pages of hotel stationery covered in timestamps, legal terms, action items. For the first time since 6:11 a.m., I felt something other than shock. I felt focused. My phone buzzed. Text from my daughter. Mom, are you okay? You seem distant at the service. Call me when you can. I stared at the message for a full minute. Don't confront. Just observe and record. I took a screenshot, noted the timestamp, saved it to a new folder labeled Evidence. Then I typed back, I'm fine. We'll call soon. 3 words, no emotion, no accusation. I plugged my phone into the charger and opened my laptop. Time to request those phone records. Outside, Houston traffic hummed. Inside, I started building something my daughter and her husband hadn't anticipated. A paper trail that told the truth. The HR portal timestamp read 6:29 a.m. Eastern, 18 minutes after the Charlotte grab. Beneficiary changed from mother to spouse. Filed from a hospital admin login in Atlanta. I stared at Susan's laptop screen through the video call. 3 days back home in Winston-Salem, sitting at my kitchen table with cold coffee and a notepad already full of timestamps. 18 minutes, Susan said. Her voice stayed level, professional. Your daughter takes your passport at 6:11. Your son-in-law logs into his work system at 6:29 and changes beneficiary documents tied to your late partner's pension transfer. The screen showed 2 windows side by side. Left, my TSA incident report, stamped 6:11 a.m. Right, hospital HR system log, entry time 6:29 a.m., user ID jcroft47, Julian Croft, my son-in-law. How did you get this? I asked. Remember the church friend you mentioned, the accountant in Dallas who handled your partner's estate? Susan clicked to another tab. She flagged an irregularity, beneficiary change request that didn't match the original paperwork. She reached out to me yesterday. Carol. I'd known her 20 years. She'd sent flowers when my partner died, helped me understand the insurance forms, never asked for payment. The original beneficiary was you, Susan continued. Carol had the signed forms from 2 years ago, clear, notarized. Then suddenly, 3 weeks ago, a new form appears naming your daughter as primary, filed electronically through Julian's administrative access at Cobb County Medical Center. My hands felt cold against the warm coffee mug. He used his hospital credentials to access a benefits database? Not illegal if he has administrative clearance, but the timing. Susan zoomed in on the timestamp. 6:29 a.m. is 18 minutes after your daughter walked away with your identification in Charlotte. That's not coincidence. 18 minutes between theft and paperwork. If that precision terrifies you, subscribe. You'll want the tools to spot it before it's filed. She showed me the metadata, document created 3 days before my Houston flight, saved to Julian's laptop, edited twice, once at 9:15 p.m. 2 nights before Charlotte, once at 11:47 p.m. the night before. Someone sent it to print at 11:47 p.m., Susan said, the night before you traveled. I wrote that down. 11:47 p.m. print command, laptop ID Jacecroft Mac. He knew, I said. My voice sounded flat. He knew when you'd be traveling, where you'd be traveling, and exactly when to file documents while you were— Susan paused. While you were stranded without identification. The kitchen suddenly felt smaller. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a car door slammed. What else did Carol find? Susan pulled up another file. The form required 2 witness signatures. Both witnesses work at Cobb County Medical Center. Both report to Julian directly. My stomach turned. I've contacted them through legal channels. One hasn't responded. The other— Susan's expression shifted slightly. The other said she signed as a favor. Never met you. Never verified your identity. Just signed because a colleague asked. I closed my eyes, counted to 5, opened them. What do? We map every action to a timestamp. We request his laptop's complete edit history. We verify who printed that document and where. Susan's tone hardened just slightly. They planned this, Clara. But planning leaves trails. The accountant added one more detail. The beneficiary form was drafted on his laptop 3 days earlier. Someone sent it to print at 11:47 p.m. the night before your Charlotte flight. Premeditation in metadata. Comment receipts if you believe digital trails expose truth. She posted a smiling airport selfie at 6:34 a.m., tagged Raleigh, Durham. But the Charlotte security footage had her at Gate E until 6:52. Susan's paralegal, a younger woman named Maya with sharp eyes and sharper software, pulled up split screens in the legal aid office. I sat across the desk, watching my daughter's face on both monitors. Left screen, Instagram post. My daughter, beige blazer, airport background, bright smile. Caption, early morning flights, RDU business travel. Timestamp 6:34 a.m. Location tag, Raleigh Durham International Airport. Right screen, TSA security footage, grainy but clear. Same beige blazer, same woman. Gate E seating area, Charlotte Douglas. Timestamp 6:47 a.m. She couldn't be in 2 places at once, Maya said. She clicked a few keys. Social media platforms embed metadata in every post. Location, device ID, edit history. The screen filled with code. I didn't understand most of it, but I understood the highlighted lines. Original geotag, Charlotte Douglas International, CLT. Edited geotag, Raleigh Durham International, RDU. Edit timestamp, 6:51 a.m. She changed the location after posting, I said. Not just once. Maya scrolled through version history. 4 attempts. First, she tried home, then Winston-Salem, then Durham, finally settled on Raleigh-Durham Airport. 4 tries to build a false story. 4 digital fingerprints she didn't know existed. The TSA footage shows her sitting at Gate E until 6:52, Susan said. Your incident report has her at the security line at 6:11. The lost and found call came at 6:17. Every timestamp puts her in Charlotte. But her social media says Raleigh, I finished. Her social media tried to say Raleigh. The metadata tells the truth. Maya pulled up the original photo file. Taken with iPhone 14. Device ID matches the phone number we have on record for your daughter. Photo metadata shows Charlotte Airport Wi-Fi network. I stared at the smiling face on screen. My daughter, looking happy, carefree, professional, while I'd been sitting at Gate C counting planes and trying not to cry. Can we use this? Absolutely. Susan made notes. It shows intentional deception. She knew people would check her social media, so she built an alibi. But she didn't know about metadata. Ever watch someone's perfect story crack under one timestamp? Technology remembers what liars forget. Maya printed everything. Original post, edit history, metadata report, device logs. The stack of papers felt heavy in my hands. The geotag editor left a version history, Susan said as I stood to leave. She tried 4 different locations before settling on Raleigh. The metadata kept every draft. I folded the papers carefully, tucked them into my folder next to the TSA incident report and the HR portal logs. My daughter had tried to erase herself from Charlotte, but Charlotte's servers remembered every second she'd been there. The vending machine receipt, Diet Coke 2 OER 6:15 a.m. Terminal D, became the North Carolina Freeze Orders anchor exhibit. I'd forgotten about it until Susan asked during our third meeting if I'd kept anything from that morning, anything at all. I'd gone home and checked my jacket pockets, the same jacket I'd worn in Charlotte, still hanging in my closet because I hadn't been able to look at it for a week. Left pocket, mint wrapper, boarding pass stub, right pocket, crumpled receipt. I'd bought that Diet Coke after my daughter walked away. My stomach had been churning, mouth dry. The vending machine near Gate C had taken my credit card, the backup one from my jacket pocket. Susan held the receipt under her desk lamp like it was made of gold. Terminal D, Charlotte Douglas, 6:15 a.m. She looked up at me. 4 minutes after the theft, your daughter claims in her statement that she left the terminal at 6:05 before you even arrived at security. But this proves you were at Terminal D at 6:15, making a purchase with a card she didn't know you had. It proves you were exactly where you said you were. Maya pulled my credit card statement. The 2.0 charge appeared right there. CLT vending term D. We had location, time, payment method. Susan spread the evidence across her desk. TSA incident report, vending receipt, credit card statement, lost and found call log, Instagram metadata, HR portal timestamp. This is your timeline, she said. Unbreakable. Every piece confirms the others. A $2 soda receipt became courtroom evidence. If you're throwing away proof right now, subscribe, I'll teach you what to keep. She drafted the motion that afternoon. I watched her type, translating my story into legal language. Petitioner, respondent, Exhibit A through F. The receipt was Exhibit C. We're filing a freeze order in Mecklenburg County, Susan explained. It asks the court to pause any estate, beneficiary, or power of attorney filings related to you until we can verify their legitimacy. Will it work? The evidence is strong. We have timeline. We have coordination. We have attempted fraud. She looked at me directly. It should work. Should, not will. I signed the petition at 4:47 p.m. Susan filed it electronically at 4:51 p.m. The court reviews emergency motions within 24 hours, she said. We should hear something by tomorrow morning. I drove home as the sun set. My apartment felt quiet. I heated soup, didn't taste it. Went to bed at 9 p.m. and stared at the ceiling until midnight. My phone buzzed at 8:47 a.m. Susan, granted, freeze order in effect. All Georgia filings paused pending review. I read the message 3 times. Granted. The attorney filed a freeze motion in Mecklenburg County at 4:47 p.m. By 9 a.m. next morning, every Georgia estate filing tied to that family was paused pending review. I sat on my bed, phone in hand, and let myself breathe for the first time in 2 weeks. 1 receipt, 1 freeze order. Ever want to fight with pocket trash? Share your story. The power of attorney draft was dated the night before my flight. Signature line blank. Witness names. People I'd never met. Susan laid the Georgia attorney's discovery packet on her conference table. We were 3 weeks past the freeze order, and Julian's lawyer had been forced to produce documents. The draft power of attorney sat on top. Prepared by Reeves Family Legal Planning. Dated April 10th. The night before my April 11th Charlotte flight. Look at the signature section, Susan said. Principal signature, blank line, date, blank witness. 1. Sarah Miller, witness. 2. Daniel Garcia. I don't know these people. They work at Cobb County Medical Center, both in Julian's department. Susan pulled up LinkedIn profiles. Jennifer is a scheduling coordinator. Marcus is a billing specialist. Both reported directly to Julian. The document was never executed. No signatures exist, but the preparation shows intent. She flipped to the next page. Georgia law requires the principal to sign in front of witnesses. The witnesses must verify identity and mental capacity. I never signed this. I know, but look at the drafting notes. Susan pointed to metadata printed at the bottom. Created on Julian's home computer April 10th at 10:33 p.m. Printed April 10 at 11:52 p.m. Same night, hours before my morning flight. We contacted both witnesses through legal channels, Susan said. Sarah declined to comment, but Daniel... She pressed play on a small recorder, a male voice, nervous. I was asked to sign as a favor for a colleague's family emergency. I never met the principal. Julian said it was urgent, time-sensitive. I signed because I trusted him. The recording continued. No one mentioned Charlotte. No one said anything about airport or theft. I just signed a document for a coworker. I felt cold. He recruited his own staff to commit fraud, I said. Attempted fraud. The document was never finalized, but the planning, the preparation... Susan stopped the recording. This shows premeditation. Signature favors aren't favors. They're fraud. If someone asked you to witness a blank form, what would you do? She added the recording to our evidence file. The stack kept growing. TSA report, vending receipt, Instagram metadata, HR portal log, freeze order, now the POA draft and witness statement. Daniel is willing to submit a sworn affidavit, Susan said. He's scared he'll be charged as an accomplice. I assured him that cooperating now protects him. What happens next? We submit everything to the Georgia State Bar and the Cobb County District Attorney. This crosses from civil into criminal territory, document fraud, elder exploitation, conspiracy. The word conspiracy hung in the air. My daughter and her husband had planned this together, not an impulse, not a family disagreement that got out of hand. A plan, with backup documents, with recruited witnesses, with timestamps mapped out. One witness agreed to submit a sworn statement. I was told it was a favor for a colleague's family emergency. No one mentioned Charlotte. The son-in-law's laptop auto-connected to Charlotte Airport Wi-Fi at 5:58 a.m. His office calendar showed a 6:30 Atlanta meeting. Maya had gotten a subpoena for Charlotte Douglas network logs. It took 2 weeks and a judge's signature, but the airport IT department finally released the data. She called me to Susan's office on a Tuesday morning. Both of them looked like they'd just won something. We found him, Maya said. The screen showed a spreadsheet, hundreds of rows, device MAC addresses, connection times, network names, one line highlighted in yellow. Device, Jaycroft MacBook Pro, MAC address, 4C3275 9A 2BF network, CLT Airport public connection time, 05847 MES disconnect time, 0522 MST, his laptop connected to Charlotte Airport Wi-Fi at 5:58 a.m., Susan said. It stayed connected until 7:41 a.m., but he swore in his statement. I pulled out the document, read his words aloud. I was in Atlanta the entire morning of April 11th, attending to work obligations at Cobb County Medical Center. He lied. Maya pulled up another screen. His work calendar shows a 6:30 a.m. meeting scheduled in Atlanta. Auto-reply emails went out from his account, but look at the IP addresses. She highlighted the email headers. Technical details I barely understood, but the location data was clear. Charlotte, North Carolina. His laptop was in Charlotte. His phone was in Charlotte. He sent work emails from Charlotte Wi-Fi while his autoresponder claimed he was in Atlanta. 18 minutes between theft and paperwork. If that precision terrifies you, subscribe. You'll want the tools to spot it before it's filed. We have 3 separate contradictions now. Susan counted on her fingers. 1. He said he was in Atlanta. Network logs say Charlotte. 2. He called Lost and Found at 6:17 asking about a stolen passport no one had reported yet. 3. He logged into his work system at 6:29 to change beneficiary documents while his wife was still at Charlotte Airport. He coordinated the whole thing, I said, from 15 feet away. Look at the terminal map. Maya pulled up Charlotte Douglas layout. Security checkpoint terminal D. Network access point coverage shows his laptop signal strongest near gate C and D corridor. He was close enough to watch. My throat tightened. He'd been there, watching his wife steal from me, waiting to confirm it worked. then filing paperwork while I sat devastated and stranded. His Wi-Fi gave him away. Miss one detail like this and the case flips. Subscribe so you learn what devices confess when people lie. There's one more thing, Maya said quietly. She pulled up a rental car receipt. Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Charlotte Douglas location. Vehicle rented 5:30 a.m. April 11th. Returned 7:34 a.m. April 11th. Renter, Julian Croft. He'd flown into Charlotte the night before, rented a car early morning, coordinated with my daughter, waited nearby while she executed the theft, then driven back to return the car and catch his own flight home. The paralegal flagged one more item, his rental car return receipt from Charlotte, stamped 7:34 a.m. He'd been there the entire time, 15 feet from the security line. Technology doesn't take sides. It just tells the truth. Drop a comment if you trust data over words. The community center invitation arrived by courier. Family estate information session. All stakeholders welcome. It smelled like a trap. So I walked in with a folder. The Fulton County Community Center sat on a quiet street in South Atlanta. Modest brick building, 20 folding chairs arranged in neat rows. Projector screen at the front. The kind of room used for neighborhood meetings and book clubs. My daughter and Julian stood near the projector, dressed like corporate presenters. She wore navy. He wore gray. Both held tablets and printed handouts. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose, slipped into a back row seat. 15 relatives had already gathered. Cousins, aunts, uncles I hadn't seen since the Houston funeral. Nobody noticed me at first. Julian started the presentation. Thank you all for coming. We've called this meeting to provide transparency regarding Clara's estate planning and care management. My estate, my care. Being discussed like I wasn't capable of managing my own life. He clicked through slides, financial overview, medical considerations, protective measures we've implemented. Each slide painted me as declining, confused, in need of intervention. My daughter nodded along, adding soft comments. We want what's best for Mom. This has been difficult for everyone. Several relatives glanced at each other. One aunt dabbed her eyes. I waited, counted to 50. Let them build their narrative. We've established updated beneficiary protocols, Julian continued. Streamlined power of attorney documentation. Everything's been filed with appropriate oversight. Lies presented in professional language. Are there any questions? My daughter asked. I raised my hand. The room turned. My daughter's face went pale. Julian's jaw tightened. Yes, he said carefully. I have a few clarifications to share. I stood, walked to the front calmly, USB drive in hand. May I? Julian stepped back. My daughter didn't move. I connected the drive. First slide, TSA incident report. April 11th, 6:11 a.m. Charlotte Douglas International. Daughter identified as subject who removed passport and wallet from secured area. The room went silent. Second slide, lost and found call log. 6:17 a.m. Male caller, Atlanta area code, requesting information about stolen passport before theft was reported. Third slide, HR portal timestamp. 6:29 a.m. Beneficiary change filed from Julian's hospital login, 18 minutes after Charlotte theft. Fourth slide, airport Wi-Fi logs. Julian's laptop connected to Charlotte network 5:58 a.m. rental car receipt. Return time, 7:34 a.m. Fifth slide, Instagram metadata. Daughter's fake Raleigh location tag. Edit history, showing 4 attempts to build false alibi. I didn't speak. Just let the slides advance, one timestamp after another. Someone whispered, "Call their lawyer." My daughter grabbed Julian's arm. He shook his head slightly. "These documents are public record," I said quietly. "Submitted to Mecklenburg County Court 3 weeks ago. Freeze order granted. All Georgia filings paused pending investigation." An uncle in the third row stood. "Clara, we didn't know." "I understand." I disconnected the USB drive. "I'm not here for apologies. I'm here so you know the truth." My daughter's hands shook. Julian pulled out his phone, stepped into the hallway. I walked back to my seat, folder under my arm. Half the room followed me out. She didn't shout. She showed receipts. Which would you trust, emotion or evidence? I connected the USB drive. First slide, TSA incident report. Second, 629 beneficiary update. Third, Charlotte Wi-Fi log. The room went silent. Then someone whispered, "Call their lawyer." No apology. Just a one-line email from their attorney. Clients wish to withdraw all pending filings and settle privately. I read it 3 times, sitting at my kitchen table, 9 days after the Fulton County meeting. Susan had warned me this might happen. When evidence becomes impossible to refute, people fold quietly. My phone rang. Susan. Did you see the email? Just now. Georgia filings have been withdrawn. Hospital beneficiary changes reverse to original status, you as primary. They're offering a settlement for administrative costs and emotional distress. I set my coffee down. How much? $12,000, plus they cover all your legal fees. $12,000 felt both too much and too little. Too much because it put a price on what they'd done. Too little because no amount could erase April 11 at 6:11 a.m. What do you recommend? Susan paused. Legally, we could push further, file criminal charges, pursue punitive damages. But that means depositions, court appearances, months of reliving this. What would you do? I'd ask for one more thing beyond the money. What? Public acknowledgment. Not a lawsuit admission, but a family statement that clears your name. You told me cousins wouldn't look at you in Houston. Fix that. They folded when the timeline spoke. If you're gathering your own evidence right now, subscribe. The payoff comes when you stay quiet and let facts shout. I thought about it for 2 days. Talked to Carol, my accountant friend in Dallas. She'd been the one who flagged Julian's HR portal changes, started this whole evidence chain. Take the settlement, Carol said. You proved your point. The family knows the truth now. That matters more than punishing them forever. Susan drafted the terms. Settlement accepted. One addition. Public acknowledgement at the next family gathering. They'll agree to that, I asked. Their attorney already confirmed. Easter dinner, 4 weeks from now, brief statement, factual correction. I signed the paperwork on a Tuesday afternoon. Bank transfer completed Thursday. Legal fees paid directly to Susan's office. The money went into a separate account I opened just for this, labeled April 11th Fund. I didn't want it mixed with anything else. Susan sent a final email. Friday. Case closed. Freeze order lifted. All original documents returned to your custody. Well done, Clara. 2 words stuck with me. Well done. I hadn't done anything spectacular. Just kept receipts. Trusted one stranger with a business card. Let timestamps tell the story. Carol called that night. The metadata did it. They couldn't explain 18 minutes. No, I said, they couldn't. We talked about other things after that. Her grandkids, my garden plans, the church bake sale coming up. Normal life resuming its shape around the whole. April 11th had torn through everything. The settlement included one non-negotiable term from grandmother's side. Public acknowledgement at the next family gathering. She wanted her name cleared, not just her accounts. Would you take the money and disappear? Or demand your reputation back? What's non-negotiable for you? They read the statement at Easter dinner. Short, factual. We misunderstood the estate planning process and apologized for confusion caused. 30 relatives gathered at my cousin Brenda's house in Winston-Salem. Ham, deviled eggs, 3 types of potato salad, spring sun through the dining room windows. My daughter and Julian arrived last. Both looked thinner, tired. Brenda directed everyone to the dining room. Before we sat, Julian pulled out a folded paper. We'd like to read something. His voice stayed level but quiet. The room settled. Forks stopped moving. In April, we pursued estate planning actions regarding Clara without proper consultation or consent. We misunderstood the process and caused confusion. We apologize for any distress this caused Clara and the family. All filings have been withdrawn and corrected." Silence. Julian folded the paper. Didn't make eye contact with anyone. My daughter stared at the floor. They walked to the kitchen, didn't sit for dinner. 5 minutes later, they left through the side door. I heard a car engine start. My cousin Paul approached with a plate. "Clara, I should have called you back in April. When I saw you at the Houston funeral, I should have asked you directly what was happening." "It's okay." "It's not, but thank you." Aunt Beth refilled my coffee without asking. Uncle Robert pulled out the chair next to me and sat down heavily. "That lawyer you found, she any good?" "Very. Good. You needed someone in your corner." The afternoon continued. People asked careful questions about the timeline, the evidence, how I'd known to keep receipts. I answered simply, without drama. Someone mentioned Julian's job. "Heard he's on administrative leave." I didn't ask for details, didn't need them. As guests left, Brenda pulled me aside. "There's an envelope on the hall table. They left it before they went." I found it under my jacket. Plain white envelope, my name written in my daughter's handwriting. Inside, my Navy passport, the original, not the replacement. Wallet contents, license, credit cards, photos, everything from April 11th, and a handwritten note on small paper. "I'm sorry, I was wrong." 6 words, not enough, but something. What 6 words would you write after this? Drop your guess below. I drove home as sunset colored the sky orange and pink. Put the passport in my kitchen drawer, next to the replacement copy I'd been using for 2 months. 2 passports now, one stolen, one earned through 2 hours of paperwork and a photocopy from my shoe. I kept both. As they packed to leave, my daughter set an envelope on the table. Inside, the Navy passport, wallet contents intact, and a handwritten note. 6 words. I didn't frame the documents. I filed them, chronological, labeled, stored in a fireproof box under my guest bed. Susan had advised keeping everything for 7 years minimum, in case they try again or in case someone else needs proof of what happened. I spread the papers across my dining table one Saturday morning, coffee cooling in my favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle I refused to replace. TSA incident report, 47291. First in the stack, lost and found call log, 6:17 a.m., Atlanta area code, emergency travel document. Leo's kind face appeared in my memory, the young agent who'd waived the processing fee, vending machine receipt, Diet Coke, 2 hours, 6:15 a.m., Terminal D, the tiny piece of trash that became courtroom evidence, phone records showing the coordination timeline, HR portal logs, the 18-minute gap that broke their story, Instagram metadata, 4 attempts to fake an alibi, freeze order, granted, stamped with the Mecklenburg County seal, witness statements, Daniel Garcia's recorded confession that he'd signed as a favor, airport Wi-Fi logs, Julian's laptop MAC address connecting at 5:58 a.m. settlement agreement, signed, notarized, paid in full, Easter statement folded, dated, witnessed by 30 relatives. I labeled a manila folder for each category: airport documents, legal filings, financial records, witness statements, settlement terms. Then I wrote notes on each document in pencil, small marginalia explaining context. On the TSA report, 611 grab. This started everything. On the vending receipt, didn't know this would matter. Almost threw it away. On the freeze order. First time I felt like someone believed me. On the settlement, not about money, about being seen. What would you preserve as proof you survived? Name one document that tells your truth. Susan had called last week to check in. How are you doing? Filing everything. Good. That's healthy. You're not weaponizing it, just protecting yourself. For who? I'd asked. I don't have kids anymore. Not really. For you. And maybe for the next person who needs to know this pattern exists and can be stopped. I bought a fireproof document box from the hardware store. Gray metal, combination lock, waterproof seal. the kind meant for birth certificates and property deeds, loaded everything inside, closed the lid, spun the combination. Slid it under the guest bed where I used to keep extra blankets. My phone rang later that afternoon. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Is this Clara? My name is Diane. I got your number from Legal Aid of Mecklenburg County. Susan said you might be willing to talk. My son and his wife just—" Her voice broke. "They took my checkbook at a restaurant. I don't know what to do." I sat down, took a breath. "Do you have any receipts from that day?" Maybe. I used my card for parking. Keep that. Write down the exact time and location. Then call Susan and tell her you need a consultation. Mention my name." "You think there's a chance?" "Yes." "I know there is." We talked for 20 minutes. I gave her the checklist. Document everything. Stay calm. Trust the process. Let timestamps speak. When we hung up, I looked at the fireproof box under my bed. Not revenge, protection. For me and whoever comes next. The last item I filed, a photocopy of the passport page with my own face stamped, "Replacement issued." I'd kept the original lost and found incident tag as a bookmark. The coffee tastes different when you've reclaimed your name. I sat on my porch, phone notifications off, watching my neighbor's kid ride a bike in slow circles. 6 months had passed since April 11th. Summer had turned to fall. Leaves scattered across my front yard in shades of rust and gold. My morning routine had returned. Coffee in the chipped mug, porch chair that squeaked slightly when I shifted weight, neighborhood sounds replacing the silence that had swallowed me at Gate C. A bike chain clicked. Someone's dog barked 2 houses down. A car door closed softly. Normal life. The kind I'd taken for granted before 6:11 a.m. Susan called last month to tell me she'd referred 3 more cases like mine. Adult children exploiting travel moments to file paperwork, banking on confusion and distance. 2 had been stopped with airport documentation. 1 was still gathering evidence. "You started something," she'd said. "I just kept receipts." That's more than most people do, and now others know it works. Carol sent updates from Dallas. Julian had resigned from Cobb County Medical Center quietly. No formal charges, but administrative review had found irregularities in other cases. Witnesses who'd signed forms without meeting principals. Timestamp discrepancies in filings. My daughter hadn't contacted me since Easter. The 6-word note remained the last communication between us. I'd stopped expecting more. Some breaks don't heal. You just learn to walk differently around them. I'd started volunteering 2 afternoons a week at Mecklenburg County Legal Aid. Not as a lawyer, I didn't have those skills, but as someone who'd survived what their clients were surviving. "Tell them what you did," Susan had said. "Show them the timeline method. Let them know silence isn't surrender." Last Tuesday, a woman named Alice sat across from me, hands shaking. My son opened credit cards in my name while I was visiting my sister in Florida. "Do you have the dates you traveled?" "I think so. I have boarding passes somewhere." "Find them. Write down every purchase you made while traveling. Gas, food, anything with a timestamp." "Will that be enough?" "It's a start. Timestamps don't lie. They never do." She left with a folder and Susan's direct number, looking less defeated than when she'd arrived. Thanks for staying with this journey. If her story reminded you that quiet strength beats loud betrayal, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories where patience and paper trails win. And remember, your story isn't over just because someone tried to end it. Tell me in the comments, which piece of evidence would you have kept? The neighbor's kid rode past my porch, waved. I waved back. My phone stayed silent. No blocked numbers, no hostile texts. Just group messages from cousins planning Thanksgiving and Brenda asking if I needed a ride to church Sunday. The Navy passport sat in my kitchen drawer now next to grocery coupons and a spare key. Just a passport again. The replacement sat beside it, proof of 2 versions of the same person. One stolen from, one rebuilt. Both mine. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, checked the fireproof box one more time. Still locked, still safe under the guest bed. 6/11 wasn't just a timestamp anymore. It was a reminder that I'd been erased on paper and rewrote myself with receipts. That family can betray and strangers can save. That silence can be strategy and timestamps refuse to lie. What does it take to reclaim your name when family tries to erase it? Share one lesson you're taking from this. And if you know someone fighting their own 6/11 moment, send them this. They're not alone.